Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today we are going to be doing a key opening for the new Mythic of Voice of Orpheus. It can be found in Glory Gem Guild and VIP chests at a very low rate, but if you do end up finding a Mythic, it will indeed be this new Mythic. It is the second one that is being added this year, but it is the first viable one being added this year, as the previous one was pretty bad to say the least. It is the best cleanser in the game, as well as a bit of an inverse Famine. Famine will still have its purposes and will even be good against it, but for the most part, it's basically just a inverse Famine with cleanse. So let's go into the troop and just show it real quick, and then we'll go do the key opening. So if we go apply to filter, we can see it right over here, the Voice of Orpheus. The main value that's going to gain is from its traits. It is one of those mythics where you basically do have to fully trade it, unfortunately, for it to be viable. The main reason for this is it has impervious plus a cleanse whenever it takes a yellow. This is a very powerful combination. Not only can you, if the enemy has silence, like let's say a silent one, you can just go and take a yellow and cleanse your entire team since it can't be silenced. This is going to be a really hard counter to things like Silent One, Merline, and basically everything else that may have spam silence. So yet again, another nerf to the Silent One, unfortunately, but it can have many other purposes as well. Of course, with Queen Mab, it's going to be really good for getting yourself out of a spam freeze. If you have a loop team, it's going to be really good against the new Fairy Fire mechanic that is quite popular right now since everyone's starting to get it from the event keys and all that. So really good counter to most things. Biggest issue it's really going to have is it's mainly only for countering stats effects. If the enemy has absolutely zero stats effects, it's likely a troop that you won't really put into your team. It's really niche in that you wouldn't put this in literally every team you use. You would just use it as a utility troop, mainly for, of course, getting rid of stats effects. As far as its ability, as I mentioned, it is basically an inverse Famine. It deals damage to a single target boosted by all ally mana, so instead of all enemy mana, it's based on your ally mana. One nice thing about this is if you have a nice mana loop of some kind, doesn't really matter what it is, as long as you can give him yellow, red, or purple. As long as you have some kind of mana loop that will be able to serve this purpose, you will be able to get his mana up, and you can just keep spamming it for pretty substantial amounts of damage. Assuming you have, let's say, a 60 mana pool total on your team, that would end up being, I believe, once you get it fully leveled, around a 80 hit, which is approximately what a Famine would be hitting anyways, even with its 2x boost ratio. One other problem that a Famine normally has is if you do have a loop team, it doesn't gain as good of a ratio if the opposing team hasn't been gaining much mana. But of course, in Guild Wars, when you want to be preventing the enemy from gaining too much mana, it could actually be a little bit more beneficial, since not only do you have the cleanse, which will save you a lot from freezes that can be annoying, but it will also have the consistent damage based on your team. One other thing I'm going to be doing before we end out this video is double checking to see if it boost ratios off itself. I believe it does, though I'm not certain, because it says all allies. Normally, if it wasn't based on itself, it would say all other allies, so it should boost ratio off itself. But of course, obviously, if it does boost ratio off itself, that's essentially an automatic 22 additional damage, since it would have to have 22 mana in order to cast. So we'll go see exactly what happens with that. And of course, it also gives all other allies 5 mana. This is pretty trivial, but you know, that could bring something into full mana range, particularly with mana generators that might be around 10 mana cost. Let's say an alchemist to feed them yellow could be particularly useful. Not only does it have one color that doesn't conflict, it can be used on a red Guild War day, and you would be able to get half its mana up simply by doing that. And it already has a +1 red on the alchemist as well, helping you even more on a red Guild War day. So the small things like that are going to be pretty nice with it. But anyways, let's get into the main event and actually open some keys. I don't want to burn through too many glory keys, but I do want to start with them. The main reason being is we still have all the rares and stuff from the most recent kingdom. I don't want to burn through a lot because every single rare from the most recent kingdom is pretty much useless. That's funny, we got a Queen Mab. Really? That's the thing we get to counter with this new troop. I think I'm only going to go through about 1,000. I do want to save up on these for future stuff. Since this new kingdom came out with 9 troops, I don't know if they're doing this from now on, but in case they aren't, I do want to make sure we have the spare glory keys. Oh, another Solzara. I only had 1 copy of her, so that's actually really nice that we got another one right there. Another Baba Yaga right up front. But yeah, this will be our last 200 for now off the glory keys. Don't want to overextend on them. And King Mikhail, a Kraken. Nice. Let's go into some gem keys and start poking down on these. Actually, I don't want to burn through too many of these either. Let's open about 200. Doesn't matter how many we open at once. Leviathan, we already have max, so not too important with that. Dracos, already max, also pretty useless for the most part. And what else do we have? Nope. We'll open another 50. I guess we'll open another 50. Bring it down to like 400 or so. A High Forge. Was that the last High Forge I need? Hold up, hold up. I think that was. Is that the last High Forge? I mean, that's the last High Forge. It would help if I type it as one word. No, it's not. I still need one more copy. No. I keep using him on Red Guild War Day, and I don't actually have a Mythic yet. If he comes into the dungeon, I mean the crafting system, I might just have to craft them already. Okay, Forest Guardian Cabarrus, it's kind of funny we get those together. They actually do synergize with each other. But anyways, let's go and go into the next key, which is basically just going to be, please get it off of 50 VIP chests. And if not, I guess we'll go back to the rest of our gem keys. It looks like if we don't get off of this, this could be the day we burn through a lot of resources. But I didn't make sure we get ourselves an Orpheus so we can go show it. And there we go. Perfect. There's the one Orpheus. Let's see. Did we get anything else relevant? Not really. Well, another Queen Mab though. Another Forest Guardian. Everything else, well, we got some other somewhat relevant troops like full AoE, true damage, Garuda for some damage, Forest Guardian for the converts, Web Spinner as the alternative for green spamming. I don't think we got any other key troops that we really needed. We already have all of the new troops that were Epic Plus or Ultra Rare Plus already maxed, and of course all of the Arcane Trait Stones and the gold that it packs with it. Wait, why does that seem like too little of amount of gold? 100,000 gold. I think that's not correct. Doesn't it give that like per thing? But anyways, we got ourselves the Mythic. That's the main thing that matters. Let's go test this thing just to see how it works mechanically, and of course we'll be covering actual teams with it later today as well as during the stream. So let me go and get this thing in, get this thing fully leveled. I won't forget to level it this time. I know when I did the previous video earlier this week on, oh, I never realized it was 777, lucky 7s for the leveling on Mythics. But I knew after the fact on that one video. I even noticed as I was uploading, I wasn't going to re-upload the whole thing. But I did notice earlier, actually I couldn't even if I wanted to because of how the content went. Oh, by the way, it's red, yellow, yellow, purple. I like how I do this just to show that and then I don't. But on what I was saying earlier, I forgot to level up the Queen Titania earlier this week. That was a fail. It's not like I could undo it because you can only do all those things once. Like if I somehow failed this video, which I actually do sometimes before I like do the intro. I think I did the intro like 4 times. But if I like failed this video after opening the keys, it's not something I could really undo unless I like do edited parts. But anyways, let's go and test the main thing I wanted to go test real quick. Also, don't forget to be exploring in either Forest of Thorns or Bright Forest this week if you want to get the event gems. Actually, we got really lucky right there. Wow, we got every single possible event gem thing. Obviously, this isn't meant to go into Explore. This is mainly just to test what on earth Orpheus mechanic is. So let's go do that right now and see how it interacts. Banner. Obviously, if we're running it like this, we need to not go minus yellow. That would be pretty bad. Well, actually, on some teams it would work, but on this particular team, it would not. So let's just go into a double yellow here. The +2 purple, +1 red, -1 yellow would be pretty bad and counterproductive. Okay, so right off the bat, we get a Mercy. I don't know for sure if Mercy is really going to be the ideal thing for it. It's a lot of cleanse spam. If you truly needed cleanse spam, Orpheus Mercy is the way to go, though I don't think there's any team in existence where you'll be needing that much spam of stats effect removal, but hey, you never know. Queen Mab can get really crazy really quickly. But yeah, all we have to do now is just take a yellow and we simply get that off. So, oh, I meant to set this on a higher difficulty. I already failed. Yeah, because I have too much mana now. So I need this not to hit last slot. So that actually worked out really well. 10, 22... Oh no, I have too much mana on everything. I'm gonna have to, yeah. Okay, oh no. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to reset this battle, fail. Because the mistake I just made is I need them to have high enough stats so I can actually see that they, if we get the boost ratio off of it. Because we didn't have it high enough to really know at the moment. So, whoops. Okay, well, we'll throw the Mercy down because I want to try getting him to bait out a skull, and that's exactly what we need right there. Okay, let's try this again, except this time, let's set it on a high enough difficulty that we can actually see. So, just to be safe, let's just put it all the way to Warlord 4. We can just retreat from the battle if we had to. That doesn't really matter. Let's bump it all the way up to Warlord 4 and see if we can get this tested. Right off the bat, we don't really have our Mercy this time around, so we'll just move that over, get some mana, throw the Firebomb, see if we have a Mercy now, and we do indeed get it. Actually, we already have the thing fully upgraded, though I do want to throw this away just so we can get a better look at it. So right here, let's go see what we can do. Oh, never mind. We could just throw it against a plague. That would have been fine. I actually could have casted it without doing that, wasting all that. Oh, well. Maybe a counter Spirit Fox. Also, by the way, this is really bad against Spirit Fox because we do need the yellows. Even though I do want to use on Yellow Day, that's probably the biggest day that it will get countered because Spirit Fox doesn't really help it much since you kind of need yellows on the board. And it's not like you can use a Herdmaster either for mana generation because it is yellow-purple. But anyways, let's see. Does it boost ratio off itself? There's 4. There's 10. There's 22. So what is that total? 4, 10, 14, 22, 36. 36 into 26 is 62. Will this do 62 or will it do a lot lower? If it does 62, this is going to be really viable. If it does less, then... Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh, it does not boost ratio off itself. Interesting. Okay, yes, it does not do it off itself. So you do need the actual mana on your team, meaning you're going to be needing heavy things like Urgolfa, 20+ mana cost troops. It's actually going to be particularly good with other mythics then. Well, let's retreat from this. This is obviously going to be a lose. Mainly just doing that to test it. But yes, it does indeed not boost ratio off itself. And I kind of noticed that mid ability too, because once you cast it, all of its mana goes down. And then when you're actually targeting it, it's down to 0 mana for the actual targeting. So yeah, it unfortunately doesn't gain that benefit off of itself. But oh well. It's still pretty good overall. It's mainly going to be used for the cleanse aspect. Still okay damage. Not as high as I thought though, of course, because that's 22 damage lower than what I kind of expected on it. But still going to be pretty decent. And with the really high mana cost on your team, if you're using a team that averages 15 mana cost, that's assuming you have it all on all your troops, that's about a 60 additional damage. That brings it up to about what a Famine would do anyways. A little bit less than a Famine, but of course it has a different niche that a Famine doesn't really serve. Famine's mainly for countering out the mana for high single target. This is more of a defensive troop for high single target, which there are a few other alternatives like Jotnar and stuff, but none that are particularly oriented towards cleanse plus damage output. Most things that have cleanse in Gems of War are simply for the cleanse aspect, or are more like support troops instead of offensive. This is one of the very first offensive versions that are capable of doing it, so very nice. As far as getting this mythic in general, it's really only one you would need to get if and only if you think you will desperately need a cleanse. That is a pretty good utility later in the game, but as a newer player, especially given that you need to fully trade it, I would probably skip this one, to be honest. It is one that is a really good utility, but the few uses that it would really have on top of the amount of resources you would need to throw on it probably isn't viable for a newer to mid-game player. It's mainly for the late game people who are very annoyed with things like Freeze and Fairy Fire mainly, as the two overwhelming stats effects that are currently spammed like crazy. With that being said, there's even one right there getting ready to spam us, plus the entangles. So we can get all that off. We can get the poison off, we can get the disease off, we can get the entangles off, and we can get the Fairy Fire off. So against things like that, that tend to pop up here and there, it's going to be really, really good against. Since you take one single yellow from the board, boom, you just counter it out like half the capability of the opposing team. But anyways, guys, that is the new Mythic. We will be covering some videos with it, and of course we'll be covering it on the streams all this week. So if you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Best of luck for all of you who are trying to hunt it down. I will see you all later. Thank you all so much for watching.